Hello everyone. To start a study of civilization, it helps to know how humans got civilized. In this screencast, we're going to provide some of those basics for you. We'll start with defining a couple of our most basic terms. First, culture. As we're doing this, we're defining culture as a way of life for a group of people. If you look around our graphic here, you'll see that culture includes quite a lot of different elements. What people think and believe, what they say, what they do, what they create, and so forth. So culture is a pretty broad, pretty extensive term. Keep in mind that almost any group of humans is going to have a culture. Some, however, may be more civilized than others. For our purposes, we're going to define civilization as an advanced, highly developed level of culture. Now, as far as what constitutes advanced or highly developed, that's a subject that we may take up in class at regular intervals throughout the year. Remember, history's a story. Stories can be told and heard in many different ways. But here's the basics of how humans started on the road to civilization. Basically, human civilization or culture in prehistory is divided into two phases, both referred to as Stone Ages. In the case of Paleolithic, we're referring to something called the Old Stone Age. Lithic is the stone part of the word. Paleo refers to the old part. It's why people who study this time period are often referred to as paleontologists. This is a time period that goes back almost 3 million years. Keep in mind that when we say BCE, we refer to that as before the Common Era, what the old books used to refer to as before Christ. Basically, they both use the time of Jesus as the dividing point between BCE and what used to be called AD, but which is now called CE or Common Era. In this case, humans' main occupation was hunter-gatherer. They ate wild animals and used their furs for skins and used the rest of the animal for other purposes, and they gathered wild plants. Once again, what they couldn't consume, they were able to purpose and find other use for. These humans lived in groups of 20 or 30 people, living as nomads. Nomads are technically people who move around a lot. In the case of Paleolithic people, they were following their food sources. Groups of 20 to 30 were the optimal size. Enough people to put to work gathering resources to feed and take care of everybody, but not so many that it wouldn't put a strain on all of the resources that they were able to get, or in some cases not get. The Paleolithic period is known for two developments in human evolution. One, you can see in the lower left-hand corner, they were able to fashion tools out of bone and stone, which is what gives the Stone Age its name. Eventually, at about 1600 BC, you'll find tribes making weapons and tools out of metals. Bronze to start. Bronze was followed by iron, and then iron eventually gets purified into steel, and so forth. But during the Paleolithic period, stone and bone, pretty basic tools. The second major development is the use of fire, shown in the bottom right. These are obviously dioramas or models showing how these developments came to be. Fire was extremely useful for humans for obviously several reasons. For one thing, it provided a source of warmth in colder weather. It also provided light at night, which was not only helpful to get more things done, but it also served to ward off animals who might seek to make prey out of the humans who might be predators to them. So fire and use of tools, very significant developments and definitely a step up on the road to civilization. This timeline shows you some of the other developments. Again, we look at about 2500 or 2.5 million rather BCE, first stone tools. Over time, people migrate from Africa, where the oldest known human remains have been seen, into Asia and Europe. About 500,000 years ago is when people began to use fire, and it was about 100,000 years after that that the first Homo sapiens appear. Homo sapiens is the species that we are. So we're talking about only about 400,000 years that humans close to you and me were around. About 33,000 BC, Cro-Magnon people created the cave paintings that we're often familiar with. Once again, hunter-gatherers, nomadic lifestyle, always on the move, 20 to 30 members in a group. Everything's going to change right about 10,000 BC or BCE, when the Paleolithic, Old Stone Age, gives way to the Neolithic, New Stone Age. In this case, the Neolithic Revolution is also known as the Agricultural Revolution, and it's going to be the result of two main developments. One, growing crops, and two, domesticating animals. Once again, as we point out, Neolithic refers to new, Neo, Lithic, Stone Age, New Stone Age. Starts about 10,000 BCE and lasts until about 5,000 BCE, when bronze becomes the replacement material of choice for tools and weapons, later to be followed by iron and so forth. As we mentioned, the New Stone Age is also referred to as the Neolithic or Agricultural Revolution. Its two main developments, as you might expect, relate to farming. One, the planting of crops. Rather than gathering wild plants, the knowledge of growing seeds and cultivating land is essential to this revolution. The other element is the domestication of animals. In some cases, animals could now be raised as food sources without having to go out hunting. In other cases, animals were often used as work, to pull plows or to carry items for trade back and forth between cultures and groups. So how does the Neolithic Revolution change human culture? First and foremost, it gives humans control over their food supply. Hunting is literally a hit or miss operation. Going out in the morning is no guarantee that you're going to bring back dinner at night. Likewise, gathering is a little more secure than hunting. However, once you've gathered all the food in a particular area, you are forced to move on and therefore never have a chance to settle down. Controlling the food supply meant that nomads became more settled. While it was true that you couldn't move if you were tending crops, it also indicated that you didn't have to move around. And therefore, this is how the Neolithic Revolution ultimately could have led to civilization. Because humans now had not just time, but ample resources to be able to build their cultures and move ahead in terms of technology, in terms of thought, in terms of organization. Those features of civilization are going to be covered in a future screencast. We'll see you then.